top-loading boat refrigerator has its challenges. Typically, it's a deep, cold box with no shelves and no dividers. Hi, I'm Carolyn Sherlock, and on this episode of the Boat Galley podcast, I'll tell you how I organized my top-loading fridge to make it both easy to use and efficient to store all the necessities. Today's episode of the Boat Galley podcast is sponsored by Pantry in Paradise. As cruisers, we've all experienced LOB, or lost on board. You know you have something, like a can of mushroom soup, but you just can't find it. Enter Pantry in Paradise, your go-to app for galley management. Pantry in Paradise tracks your provisions, where they're stored, and creates your next shopping list. Provision for guests or even extra weeks. Find Pantry in Paradise in the App Store and on Google Play. That empty top-loading refrigerator is a little intimidating when you see it at first. How in the world are you ever going to organize it? Unlike a typical home refrigerator, a top-loading refrigerator is usually just a box, either no dividers or only one between the refrigerator and the freezer. No meat keeper, no produce drawers, no wine bottle holder, or even a shelf. Add in the fact that the space tends to be a lot smaller than a house refrigerator, and no wonder that planning how you'll organize your top-loading boat fridge gets rather stressful. There's actually no one correct way to organize a top-loading refrigerator. Everyone has different preferences and priorities. I can, however, give you some pointers and show you what I eventually came up with. Organizing that big open box will ensure that you don't have to keep the refrigerator open too long when you need something, and that everything will be kept at its proper temperature, and that the space is fully utilized. Now we start by determining your priorities. You need to figure the priorities for the limited space in the refrigerator and the freezer. Ask yourself questions like, do you really need ice in your drinks, or will cold drinks suffice? If your freezer is tiny, you may have to choose between ice and being able to freeze meat. And if you want plenty of cold drinks, you may have to use more canned meat, vegetables, and fruit. If you want lots of fresh produce, there'll be less room for other things. Next, figure out what needs to go where. The coldest area in the refrigerator is at the bottom, with the area right under the chill plate the coldest. That's a good place for meat. The bottom is also good for drinks, not only to keep them cold, but also to keep the weight low and prevent them from falling onto fragile items. The warmest area is at the top, away from the chill plate, making it perfect for things like lettuce. Now, if you want more cold or not so cold space than the natural progression of the cold to warm areas offer, it's easy to wall off sections without totally rebuilding your box. Rigid foam sheets, sold at home improvement stores, are the best to use, but even a double layer of corrugated cardboard will work. Just cut it to size to make a wall between the cold and cool sections and duct tape it in place. Don't tape it too securely. You're going to need to remove the wall when you defrost. Now, the side that contains the freezer compartment or chill plate will be quite cold, and the other side much less so. You can adjust the relative cold by making some holes in the divider so that more cold air passes to the cool side. Just don't make too many all at once, as it takes about a day for the relative temperatures to settle in. Third, find some bins and boxes that'll fit in your planned areas to put your food into. Grouping like items together, drinks, produce, cheese, things like that, will ensure that foods stay in the proper temperature areas, that fragile foods will be protected, and that you'll be able to find things quickly. Containers need to be sturdy to stand up to the motion of the boat and being moved about several times a day. Covered containers work well for things like lettuce and tomatoes that you don't want squished. Otherwise, I like open tops for easy access and solid bottoms to contain the mess if anything leaks. I also like ventilation holes in the sides. Finally, try different arrangements with the bins empty, putting the food into coolers until you find an arrangement that works. It may take some trial and error to come up with the best sizes and placement of bins and dividers, but in the long run it pays huge dividends. Foods will stay fresh longer, and you'll find what you need much more quickly, lessening both your frustration and the battery drain. Thanks again to today's sponsor, Pantry in Paradise. Find Pantry in Paradise in the App Store and on the Google Play Store. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Boat Galley podcast. Don't forget to subscribe.